Hi boys and girls, Miss Cunha here. So I want to go over the assignment that you are working on for today and over the weekend. Reminder, this is only due to be turned in on Tuesday. Okay, so you do have the weekend to complete it. Make sure you do a very good job with this and make sure you're paying close attention to what you're doing with this assignment. So this is all about themes that we see in our novel Ghost Boys. So there are several themes that we see, right? It's definitely not just one. So on the first page, make sure you add your name and your homeroom. The second page gives you a quick reminder of what to do when you are trying to determine or identify what a theme of a story is. So what is theme? Theme is a message or a lesson from the story that you can apply to your own life. So a couple of things to remember. It's the lesson or the message that the author wants you to learn from the story. So think, what do you think the author is trying to teach you with the story Ghost Boys? The author won't explicitly state it, right? The author is not going to say, hey, the theme of the story is blank. We, as readers, have to infer what the theme of the story is, right? Based on what happens in the story. There can always be more than one theme, right? We see that all the time. And there is no right or wrong theme as long as you can explain what happens in the story that shows the theme, right? What happens that shows us what the author wants us to learn based on what happens. So there could be more than one theme. Also, we know that a theme is not specific to the story that we're reading. So you can use the theme that you think is in Ghost Boys and you can say, hey, this other book that I read has that same theme, right? So remember that when I ask you for the theme of a story, it's not going to have characters' names. It's going to just be very general, right? And it can apply to any other book. And the last one says the theme is universal. It applies to everyone and it could apply to another book, as I mentioned. Okay, let's take a look at this quick example. So remember at the beginning of the year when we read The Invisible Boy, we also focused on theme, right? We spoke about what the theme of the story was. And notice, there's two examples there. The first one says, being excluded makes Brian sad. Well, this is not an example of a theme because it includes the character's name, right? It says Brian. So this is just specific to this one story, right? The character Brian is part of this story, not any other stories. So this wouldn't be really a theme. This is more like a main idea, right? The next example says, excluding people hurts their feelings. This could be a theme because I can use this and apply it to another book or another story. Okay, so this would be an example of theme. Now let's take a look at the assignment you're going to do. So on slide number, this is going to be slide 5 for you because I'm including this video on the first slide. But on slide 5 for you, you're going to click and drag these boxes on the bottom into where they belong in the chart. So topics are usually one words, right? Like bullying. Bullying is definitely a topic in this story, right? In Ghost Boys. So that would be a topic. Theme is more of a statement, right? What exactly happens in the story that shows that bullying is a topic? Like, what about bullying is the message? Like, what's the message the author is trying to show you, the reader, about bullying, right? It's more specific. So you're going to read these 4 examples here, and you're going to click and drag them where you think they belong. So if you think this is a topic, you put it here. If you think it's a theme, you put it there, okay? So that's what you're doing for this slide. Okay, the next slide gives you the directions for the next 2 slides, right? So these are the last couple of slides on your document. Directions say the next couple of slides have various themes found in the novel Ghost Boys. Think back to what we have read so far and find evidence that supports those themes. Couple of pointers. Ask yourself, what happens in the story that shows this? Or what happens in the story that are examples of this? Okay. The next slide, look at the chart. You have 2 themes on the top. And then the next, on the bottom of it, you have evidence. This is what you're filling in. You're going to find evidence from the story that shows this theme. So the first theme says, police brutality is a common occurrence that needs to be brought to light. Well, what happens in the story that shows police brutality? Maybe you can find evidence that explains what police brutality is or an example of police brutality. Think of what happened to Jerome, right? The next theme says, people of color are blocked from health, wealth, opportunity, justice, and safety because of racial prejudice. So we spoke about racial prejudice and how it's being against a specific race, right? Just because. And usually people of color, so African Americans, are not very lucky enough to have health, right? They can't, they don't have like health, like insurance, for example. Think of Jerome's mom. There was an example of that. They're not very wealthy, right? They live in a poor neighborhood or a dangerous neighborhood, for instance. So think of that, right? And what evidence, so what happens in the story, be specific, right? That shows this. And then the last slide has another theme. And then the last one, you are going to come up with your own theme, okay? Besides the 3 that I gave you. So this one here says, many times bullying is happening in school and no one besides the ones involved know about it. Okay, that is so important because that is true, right? And we see that in the book. So think of what happens in the story, what happens with Jerome that shows this, okay? And you're going to add your evidence here. And then once you come up with your own theme, you're going to add it here and find evidence for the theme that you selected. Please, boys and girls, keep in mind that you must use EBTs when you cite evidence. So say, as stated on chapter 5, or according to the text, or in the novel Ghost Boys, blank, right? Make sure you start every single evidence with an EBT. Okay, boys and girls, if you have any questions, please make sure you let me know on Google Classroom and I will try to help you with whatever you need. Don't forget, this is due on Tuesday. So make sure you're focused with this and you're doing a very good job because this will be graded. Have a great weekend, boys and girls.